While he was placing his order for supper at a Taco Bell in Mobile, Alabama, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Risden of the United States Army overheard two young boys ages 9 and 13 attempting to sell handmade treats in order to provide financial support for their church. Risden did not hesitate to take action after seeing that the youngsters seemed to be hungry, cold, and damp. He inquired as to whether or not they had eaten, and upon discovering that they had not, he welcomed them to the counter, where he instructed them to place whatever order they want, and he assured them that supper would be on him. Another patron, Jason Gibson, was so affected by the touching exchange that he uploaded the video on the internet. He was the one who captured the beautiful meeting. The video shows the lads smiling with thanks, and it is captured on camera. Risden was even greeted by the younger youngster, who said, "I want to be just like you when I grow up." Gibson made this observation when the video went viral. Risden, who was a parent and a member of the United States Army Ranger Corps, expressed his humility over the adulation. He claimed that his acts were a manifestation of the Ranger creed that forms the basis of his life, notably the passage that reads, "Never shall I fail my comrades." Considering the two young men to be his allies, he thought it was his responsibility to assist them. This straightforward and unplanned gesture of generosity not only satisfied the hunger of the young men, but it also moved the hearts of thousands of others. It served as a potent reminder of the compassion and integrity that many members of the military services exemplify. The tale of Lieutenant Colonel Risden's meeting with Taco Bell did not conclude with a lunch he shared with another person and a video that went viral. The boys in their community were profoundly and indelibly impacted as a result of this act of giving, which served as a catalyst for a much greater wave of compassion. Over the course of the subsequent days, the film proceeded to gain popularity and gather millions of views simultaneously. The story was picked up by many news sites, and the tale of the soldiers' unassuming generosity struck a chord with people all throughout the nation. As time went on, the emphasis switched from just praising Risden to providing support for the two lads, Jalen and Michael, and the cause that they were pursuing. They received an overwhelming number of questions and gifts for their church, which was the initial purpose of their fundraising efforts. The narrative moved a prominent member of the community, and as a result, they assisted in organizing a legitimate internet fundraising campaign for the boys and their family. With donations coming in from every state, they were able to significantly surpass their initial target. The seemingly little act of purchasing 2 meals had suddenly secured major funding for the community activities that their church was involved in. However, the influence was not limited to monetary matters. Once a group of unremarkable youngsters peddling sweets, the lads suddenly found themselves in the spotlight as local superstars for all the right reasons. Risden praised their initiative and courtesy, and they were praised for both of these qualities. Michael, the oldest kid, seen to it that his desire of entering the military became more concrete. He started taking part in a young cadet program in the area, and mentors were immediately willing to provide him with guidance. The younger man, Jalen, who had presented the emotional salute, was extended an invitation by a local VFW post to spend time with veterans. These soldiers recounted their experiences and reaffirmed the principles of respect and dedication that Risden had shown. While everything was going on, Lieutenant Colonel Risden, who was back at Fort Benning, continued to push back against praise. During a subsequent interview, he made the following statement: "The actual story is not about me. These two young guys and their desire to have a positive impact on their neighborhood are the focus of this story. The focus is on the myriad additional acts of kindness that take place on a daily basis without the presence of a camera photographer. I just happened to be at the precise location at the precise moment." However, he did appreciate the beneficial conclusion of the situation. If this story encourages even one person to look out for someone else in need, then that's a win far greater than any recognition I could receive. There was no break in the chain of goodwill. As a result of the occurrence, the Taco Bell franchise store collaborated with a charitable organization in the area to develop a pay-it-forward program. This initiative gives customers the opportunity to contribute meals to children who are in need within the neighborhood. This meeting at the Taco Bell counter demonstrated that a single act of kindness may have a ripple effect that lasts for an infinite amount of time. During the chilly night, Lieutenant Colonel Risden's only objective was to find a solution to the dilemma of 2 empty stomachs. Through his actions, he not only provided sustenance for 2 young boys, But he also nurtured the spirit of a town, inspired a country, and placed two young Americans on a road that was filled with newly discovered hope and possibilities. He exemplified the definition of the Ranger Creed by proving that his comrades are, in fact, each and every person that he has taken an oath to defend. The narrative did not come to a conclusion with a single gift. Members of the local community, including a number of organizations that serve veterans, were moved by the character of the two youngsters, Jalen and Michael, and stepped in to give continued mentoring. After enrolling in after-school activities, the boys discovered a network of good role models who took a real interest in their futures. These individuals were positive role models. The troops from a neighboring base, who were motivated by the efforts of their fellow service members, started volunteering more extensively in the community. This helped to deepen the connection between the military and the population that they served. During their youth, the incident became a defining milestone for both Jalen and Michael. They discovered that their dedicated efforts and proactive nature were recognized and appreciated. It was through this experience that they learned that compassion is a commodity that is more important than money, and that people who matter the most appreciate respect and persistence. When Lieutenant Colonel Risden returned to Fort Benning, his tale was subtly integrated into the leadership training that was being provided. Instead of being portrayed as a big, epic narrative, it was given as a practical example of the Ranger Creed in a situation that was not related to war and was ordinary. The sentence, "Never shall I fail my comrades," was debated not just in terms of brotherhood on the battlefield, but also as a commitment to one's fellow citizens that lasts a lifetime. While Risdan continued to avoid the limelight, he discovered that his seemingly insignificant gesture had turned out to be an effective instructional tool. When he was among his fellow troops, he would remind them, "Our uniform does not just represent our ability to fight. It represents our promise to serve." At other times, such service is provided at a Taco Bell counter, and at other times, it is provided abroad. At all times, be prepared for both. A national discourse about ordinary heroism was started by the viral film, which was a very tiny yet significant event. A multitude of individuals shared their own accounts of unnoticed acts of kindness performed by members of the armed forces, which were featured in various news programs and social media threads. It became a reminder that the character of the men and women who serve in military is often exposed, not in the most significant fights they engage in, but rather in the most understated moments they have when they are not on duty. There was a short period of time when the hashtag #MeComrade became popular. People used it to offer tributes to individuals who had assisted them during a difficult time. This transformed the military word comrade into a more general idea of mutual support. It wasn't until many years later that the whole cycle of the incident became clear. After graduating from high school with honors and being sent to the United States Military Academy at West Point, Jalen, the younger lad who had saluted, would go on to gain an appointment. He wrote about the chilly and rainy night when a soldier bought him tacos and showed him what the term comrade really meant in the essay that he submitted for scholarship consideration. In his writing, he expressed his desire to be more than simply a soldier. He wanted to be the sort of leader who is aware of those who are experiencing hunger and cold both physically and symbolically, and who never fails to take action. It is shown by the narrative of Lieutenant Colonel Robert Risden that act of heroism does not necessarily consist of a single dramatic occurrence. When it comes to mankind, it is often a moment of silence and decisiveness that sets off a chain reaction of good. The goal he set for himself was to satisfy two people's need. But in the end, he was able to feed a town, inspire a country, and mold a future leader. The actual significance of his acts that night is a narrative that will continue to be told for centuries to come. It is a tribute to the power of watching out for one's comrades, regardless of where they may be, and it will continue to be written for generations to come.